Okay, I guess I just got the thumbs up so we can go ahead and get started. You are here to talk about randomness. Real quick, who am I? I was at a talk a few years ago and they told everybody that they should put up a slide of who they are. And so I've just always just kind of updated it a little bit. And my name is Dave Oswald. I studied econ and computer science at the U. I work for Endurance International Group. Locally, that's known as Bluehost. I work on the orchestration infrastructure team. The enterprise orchestration team. Really, I think of solving problems as being my hobby, and fortunately, I get paid for it. I also run Salt Lake Perl Mongers. So if you are interested in Perl, come join our mailing list, saltlake.pm.org. You can click our QR code, or you can just come talk to me after. You're really here to talk about randomness. So I'm going to put up a slide. Somebody raise their hand if they see something wrong with this. This is GenPass, a password generator. See anything wrong? It's the second to last line. We're using RAND. Anything wrong with using RAND to generate temporary passwords or passwords? RAND isn't very random, unfortunately. It's a bad idea, okay? So John von Neumann says, anyone who considers arithmetical methods of producing random digits is, of course, in the state of sin. So we're going to talk about random number generators, and we're going to try to avoid sinning. The problem with random number generators is that you can think that you're getting randomness, and there's no really good way to test whether you really are getting randomness. There's just no excellent way of knowing for sure if what you are getting is of cryptographic quality. It's kind of hard. Most good random number generators will pass statistical tests. And I'm not talking about cryptographically secure random number generators. I mean RAND, Perl's RAND, Python's RAND, whatever RAND. Will generally pass statistical randomness tests. And that's part of the problem, is that it is so hard to test. Anybody know what this is? These are truly random number generators. They use white noise. They generate white noise by amplifying a signal, and then they pick off the white noise and use that to get what looks like randomness. So what's the problem with TRNGs? Well, and they're actually based on random events. The problem with them is that, well, all of our problems are solved, right? We can go home now. Well, no, then you never have one when you need it. That's the problem. So we can't go home now. One of the problems with a truly random with truly random number generators is what about? Is that you might be in the cloud, you might be other places like that. So what about dev random? Well, dev random is no good. It is good, but the problem is, what about headless systems, for example, where entropy arrives very, very slowly? So truly random number generators, you never have one when you need it, and it can be difficult to avoid blocking, as is in the case with dev random. This is a picture of a theoretical example of a pseudo-random number generator, PRNG. Pseudo-random number generator. Pseudo-random number generators, good ones can pass statistical random tests. Great. Usually not a very good source of cryptographic randomness. And again, it's very hard to test for this. So why is this a problem? I'm glad you asked. Actually, I asked. I didn't hear anybody ask, but time for our live demo. Now, I can't see what's happening. The monitor down here is not working. So we're going to try this with me typing. I'm seeing the back side of the screen. I can't see what I'm doing. Let's start over. You guys can see very well what's happening. me, I get to see the back side of the screen. Yeah. Somebody hear me? Somebody? Oh, you're not getting, oh, okay. Oh, you do? Okay, all right, good. Then that's fine. We're going to be able to do this. Okay, let me just move this up a little if I can see what I'm doing there. Ah, nice. There we go. Maybe this will work better. So let me come down so I can see what's happening too. Here we've generated some random numbers. Here we've made a prediction of what the next random numbers in the stream are going to be. And here we've verified that that prediction is the same. These are the actual random numbers that came next in the stream. The prediction matched. We were able to, in 4.6 seconds, in pure Perl, we were able to determine what the rest of the randomness stream was going to look like from Perl's rand. And you think, well, Perl, it's because it's Perl, right? No, Perl's rand uses C's rand, okay? And if we were actually doing the same little crack, the same little hack in C, it would take just a fraction of a second. You only need, it turns out, let me go back to where I can see my own slides. Here's a slide of the demo. So what are the implications? We were able to guess the future randomness stream after seeing 7 bytes from rand. By seeing just 7 bytes, we're able to see what comes next. That's just 56 bits. I threw that in there for the mathematically challenged and for dramatic effect, right? It took around 5 seconds in pure Perl. And I did it in under 140 lines of code, including the tests that presented it on the screen for you there. In C, it takes less than a second. So we need to talk about something different than RAND. We're going to talk about CSPRNGS, cryptographically secure pseudorandom number generators. And what are those for? Cryptographically secure random number generators allow you to sin and get away with it. They should, a good cryptographically secure random number generator should be able to pass statistical randomness tests, but RAND can do that, right? It should also hold up well under serious attack, even when part of their running or internal state becomes available to the attacker. They must hold up well under serious attack. They must hold, that means that given the first k bits of the random sequence, there is no polynomial time algorithm that can predict the kth plus 1 bit with any probability of success greater than 50%. So in other words, a cryptographically secure random number generator should not allow us to guess what the next bit or what the next sequence of integers are going to be coming off of it. Clearly not after just 7 bits, but they should never allow that. If there's entropy input while it's running, it should also be infeasible to predict the future conditions, even if the internal state were to become known. You cannot use a knowledge of its internal state to predict the future state. You can't use knowledge of its internal state to predict the past, and you can't use its randomness sequence to guess its internal state. That's a cryptographically secure random number generator. So most PRNGS are not suitable as cryptographically secure random number generators. With most PRNGS, they will fail on all counts. Randomness sequences can be used to guess the internal state. The internal state can be used to predict the past state. The internal state cannot be re-obscured by adding just a few bits of entropy. A randomness sequence can be used to predict future randomness if you're just using RAND or C's RAND or Perl's RAND or Python's RAND, anybody's RAND. So why is this a problem? I'm glad you asked, because you're going to get spanked if you're doing it the wrong way, or you're going to get owned, or whatever terminology you want to use. So what should we do? Well, should we just use RAND and then shuffle? No, because that's using RAND, okay? So we shouldn't do that. here's what we should be doing. We should be looking for good libraries that use cryptographically secure random number generators to produce their randomness. And so, here I'm taking you through the shuffle thing. Should we shuffle? No. Now we're going to go on to talking about cryptographically secure random number generators. Here's one in Perl, bytes random secure. It uses the Isaac algorithm, which is generally accepted as a cryptographically secure random number generator. And now we're generating a password from a string of bytes, and we're doing it using a proper CSPRNG. And we can clean that up a bit, make it even smaller. That's Perl. But what else can we do? Well, we've got to choose a good algorithm. So I mentioned Isaac as being one of the algorithms. A block cipher and counter mode. These are just things you need to be looking for. Block cipher and counter mode, that's considered a good cryptographically secure algorithm. Yarrow. Yarrow is used by FreeBSD for devu random. I think it might be used in general GNU Linux now for devu random, or maybe Fortuna is used by Linux at this point in devu random. These are cryptographically secure random number generators. Isaac is the one that I mentioned earlier, evolutionary algorithm. And then there are platform specific, such as starting with Windows XP and beyond, you have crypt gen random, which is cryptographically secure. Choose a well-known implementation. That's the next thing. So just because you think you have a good algorithm, you still need to choose a well-known and generally accepted implementation of that algorithm. Review its source and be skeptical. Don't believe a thing until you've had the chance to look it over, verify that it is what it is and that it's doing what it's doing. In Linux, you can use devu random. And everybody's going to say, what? What about dev random? That's what we should be using, right? No, dev random blocks. Devu random seeds off of dev random, essentially, and then allows additional entropy to come from dev random as it becomes available. And it's a myth that you shouldn't be using devu random. You probably should be. That's a cryptographically secure random number generator in any version of Linux over the past, 8 or 10 years. If you're using Perl, use crypt random, use bytes random secure, that's mine. Use math random secure, use math random Isaac. If you're using PHP, there is a library, CSPRNG. If you're using Python, you can import OSU random. That's probably a good way to do it in Python. If you're using C, there are C libraries as well. Whatever language you're using, make sure to find a well-known, well-tested library that people agree is an acceptable use, an acceptable CSPRNG implementation. What about testing? Well, statistical tests, I've found in my own testing, statistical tests are good for one thing, and that's just for making sure that there are no edge cases, right? That I am actually getting a 0 once in a while. That kind of thing. That's about all they're good for. They can uncover some types of edge case bugs, fence post errors. Are we getting a random number at all? That sort of thing. FIPS 140 is a government sanctioned protocol, the government sanctioned strictness, I guess you would say, or designation for what can pass as cryptographically secure randomness. And there are a set of FISP 140 tests, at least in Perl there are, that you can put a cryptographically secure random number generator through. That can be used to verify security holes in sound algorithms, but still it's not perfect. You really need to just use a sound algorithm to begin with, and you need to use one that's well established. Don't invent your own. Use a trustworthy implementation. So what are the pitfalls? There are pitfalls. If you're using a CSPRNG, then you are getting a cryptographically secure stream of random numbers, except how do you seed it? Seeding still becomes the harder problem. For seeding, again, use devu random, use cryptorandom seed if you're in Perl. That's one written by a guy named Dana Jacobson that is an excellent module for seeding randomness in Perl. Use a truly random number generator. Anybody think of another pitfall? This one I've actually seen. Forking. So what should we do? Should we seed and then fork? Absolutely not. If you seed and then fork, then you're sharing the same stream among forks, the same randomness stream. So you should fork and then seed. That'll make you a lot happier. Don't ever duplicate internal state, and that's what forking will do. If you seed first and then fork, you'll be duplicating the internal state of your cryptographically secure random number generator. That's hard to say. And then two people could potentially get the same temporary password. However you're using your randomness, you're going to be sharing the same stream. Don't do it. So the point, use a well-known library. Don't roll your own. Seed wisely and carefully at the right time. And don't ignore the problem. Never just think, oh, it's okay, I'm just going to use RAND for this. So that's all I've got. Anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Just comment. Linux cryptographically secured SHA-1.
Good. Okay.
Instead of the RL.
Which version of Linux? All versions? Okay. All right. Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Oh, so the comment was that DevU Random uses SHA-1 under all versions, under all kernels of Linux currently. So, any other questions or comments? Okay, so the one thing to take away from all this is be careful, use a trusted source, make sure that you are not ignoring the problem. Stay safe. Thanks.